Hi, my name's Glenn. I'm part of the Coventry City podcast called All Things Sky Blue. We obviously do lots of content. So we on YouTube and we do weekly X Spaces on a Sunday evening at 9 p.m. where we discuss obviously everything that's going on with Coventry City. We're also on TikTok, Facebook, and the podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. So yeah, we've been going for about 2 and a bit years now. So yeah, it's really good. And yeah, we always try and get an opposition fan on to preview games. And yeah, it's a real good thing that we all enjoy talking about Coventry City, and we all offer some different views and agree to disagree sometimes. So yeah, in terms of the season so far, it's been pretty much a roller coaster ride for Cov. After the defeat in the FA Cup semi-final against Man United on penalties, I don't think I ever expected to be facing the fact that Frank Lampard would be our manager. Mark Robins would have left, Adi Vivash would have left the club, and yeah, we'd be signing Matty Grimes from Swansea. So yeah. And going back to, obviously, the end of last season, we ended really poorly. We just couldn't buy a win and just kept conceding goals. Much similar to the game where you beat us 2-1. We just found a way to lose games and, yeah, ended the season really poorly. But, yeah, the summer was quite positive. We made some good acquisitions. And, obviously, we felt that the FA Cup run kind of was a distraction, and maybe that was an excuse for the tail off in form at the end of the season. We started the season with decently high expectations. Obviously, the P word was going around quite frequently. And the club ran a campaign like Dream High, Rise Together, and all this, play up Sky Blues and going up the city, you know what I mean? And people just put 2 and 2 together and assume that. So yeah, we were reasonably confident. Jack Rodoni looked a real good signing. Efron Mason-Clark, who came in from Peterborough, was highly rated. We also bought Louis Binks back. Oliver Dovin was quite a highly rated goalkeeper coming in. Brandon Thomas Asante, proven championship striker, albeit probably not the most prolific player. But yeah, it looked quite positive. But yeah, first game of the season, lose at Stoke, 1-0. Took a 96-minute winner to beat Oxford, thanks to a blunder by them. And yeah, then the season was just a case of we just kept shooting ourselves in the foot and dropping points and losing games that we probably shouldn't really have. And then, as Mark Robins tended to do, he turned the season round and seemed to have found a winning habit. And then the Derby game happened where we gifted Derby the first goal with a sloppy back pass, which they scored. And then an own goal went in. A cross got deflected in off Bobby Thomas as an own goal, 2-0 down. Cov scored to make it 2-1. And yeah, I don't think anyone walking out the ground was like expecting that Mark Robins was going to get sacked the next day. But obviously he did, which was a big shock for the fan base. And yeah, then the bombshell was that basically Mark Robins had almost self-sabotaged him. He self-sabotaged himself in his Cov reign by basically falling out with Adi Vivash and basically saying it's me or him. And yeah, Mark Robins wasn't the same without Adi Vivash. The quality of coaches we brought in wasn't up to the standard that Vivash and Dennis Lawrence, who both left the club, were. So yeah, then we ended up with Frank Lampard. And yes, so far so good. He's made a good impression. He speaks well. He's not really had the best Cov team yet to pick from. We've obviously had Addy Wright out quite long term. Mason Clark picked an injury up and Ben Sheaf got injured again. We've also had Ben Wilson out long term. So he's done reasonably well. He stabilised us. He made us hard to beat, with the exception of a shocking performance after going 1-0 up against Portsmouth. The average performances under him have been pretty good. He tends to go either 4-3-3 or we've moved to more like a 3-5-2 formation recently. It'll be interesting to see what he does on Saturday. So we played Leeds last night and lost 2-0. 2 mistakes, which is unlike us because we've been quite solid. And that's probably the main thing. Lampard effect. He made us quite solid and hard to beat, and got us nicking points. And as improved players, we've got Ellis Sims playing back to the player that he was last season. Oliver Dobbins' form has transformed after a couple of mistakes, and he's got Liam Kitchen, Bobby Thomas and Joel Atibodiere looking as a solid back three, and he's got Brandon Thomas Asante who's back scoring. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we do. Honestly, I don't know what system we'll play, and I don't know what team we'll play. I can say for definite Matty Grimes won't play because he's cup tied. We have a game on next Tuesday against QPR that's kind of got really massive now if we've got any chance of the playoffs. I think really we probably need 10 wins now from 15 games to have a sniff and probably nick a couple of draws. Can't really afford to lose many games unless the teams above us have a spectacular drop-off in form. I think we'll probably... There might be a chance to see Ben Wilson in goal. Depends how his knee recovery is coming along. Personally, I'd stick with Dovin. I think Louis Binks might come in. Jay De Silva might come in at wing-back. Possibly youngster Jack Burrows might get a run out to give Milan Van Eerik a rest, as he's pretty much played every game for us this season. I think we'll see Norman Bassett come in maybe up front. He's a little nuisance and he'll terrorise your back three. And I would expect to see maybe Josh Eccles come in to our midfield. And yeah, you might see we've got a young Brazilian Dutch winger, Rafael. He might come in and play, and obviously we've got Tatsuro Sakamoto. So yeah, it's a bit really hard to judge now what the team will be. So yeah, in terms of the game, young Brazilian Dutch winger Rafael, he might come in and play, and obviously we've got Tatsuro Sakamoto. So yeah, it's a bit really hard to judge now what the team will be. So yeah, in terms of the game, I don't want to get embarrassed. Don't want extra time. So I just think we have a go at Ipswich and see what happens. We've not really got a great record against you at home over the years recently. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, it depends what team you put out. If you decide you're going to throw in the likes of Jack Clark, Calvin Phillips, obviously Alex Palmer's a really, really good goalkeeper at Championship level, and he tends to play really well against Cov. Obviously, you've got Cameron Burgess, Wolfenden. You've got some really good players, even if you rest a load. So yeah, I would be happy with a decent performance. Obviously, get minutes in the legs for some of the fringe players. And as long as we don't get disgraced, if we lose by the odd goal or so, it wouldn't be the end of the world because QPR is the bigger game for us. But yeah, it's FA Cup. Frank Lampard hasn't lost an FA Cup tie at home, I believe, yet. And got a sneaky feeling that run might continue. I think we might just nick it 2-1. And yeah, I've got a funny feeling that we're going to get maybe Man United or Chelsea in the next round. I'd love Man United because we've got a score to settle with them after Wembley, and I wouldn't mind knocking them out and righting that wrong. So yeah, it'll be a good game and it'll be a good football game. And obviously, I think you guys have sold your away allocation out, so it'll be really good. And I think there'll be a decent Cov crowd because we priced it quite competitively. And like I say, we played Spurs earlier this season and we were really competitive against them. So I think we can do the same. I just wish we had Hadji Wright, Mason Clark and Sheaf available, because I think that would maybe just tilt it in our favour if you rest and rotate.